Hey everybody, John Felt here. This is the Blue Water Outlook Weekly Weather Briefing for October 11th, 2025. For many parts of the country, it has been an unusually mild and in many cases dry fall. Other areas not so much, including some winter-like weather this week. Let's get started in today's briefing. Well, there are some signs of fall out there, the fall transition. These are areas that are experiencing the change of foliage, the colorful leaves, especially in orange, and the areas of darker orange here. As we get into the shades of red, we get past the peak of fall colors. Now, some areas have already hit 32 degrees, as you would expect this time of year, anything shaded here. And some areas, including the upper Rockies, or the Rockies, I should say, the upper Midwest and the Northeast, have experienced their first occurrence of a hard freeze or 28 degrees. But overall, it's been a very mild fall so far, sort of a delayed fall. This is the last 30-day temperature departure, and anything in shades of red or even orange, it's been unusually mild. Areas of red anywhere from 6 to 10 degrees above normal. So Minnesota, you're having a really unusual mild fall so far. Now, there are some action spots to look at this weekend. We have the remains of a Pacific hurricane, some moisture streaming into the southwest, and that's going to produce a flood threat and some heavy rain. And in our populated cities in the East Coast, we're going to have a coastal storm with some gusty winds, high winds, wave action, and coastal erosion. We have these coastal warnings out in these areas. So many areas could use some rain. I've been talking a lot about drought in my posts. I'm going to be talking this week about the Pacific Decadal Oscillation and how it affects mainly the western U.S. drought. But I think most areas would say, boy, if we could get a couple inches of rain, we sure wouldn't be complaining. Now, last week, a few areas got some heavy rain. This was all welcome rain here in the central U.S. Didn't do a whole lot to help the river situation, but it did help drought concerns, but very limited areas. Temperatures last week were above normal. Once again, anywhere from maybe 6 to 8 degrees all the way through the central part of the U.S. and the Northeast. Hottest temperatures last week, we made it. We're getting towards the middle part of the month. Green was in the 80s, and this orange shade here was in the 90s. Now, I reference rivers. And what we have here is a couple of areas to keep an eye on. The southwest with some heavy rain potential. That's tropical moisture streaming inland, and whenever you get that, you have that potential for heavy rain. And then the coastal low moving up the east coast, and that's going to produce a chance of some heavy rain as well. Now let's talk a little bit more about rivers here. This is the upper Mississippi, the Ohio, and the lower Mississippi. And note how they're all drifting down into this brown shaded region, and that's low flow. So I think with the fall harvest, Midwest harvest, there could be some issues with reduced barge capability due to these low flows. Okay, so let's look at the forecast here. We have this big ridge of high pressure, so we're going to start off the forecast period here this weekend with mild conditions under this high. Then we have this low. This is our coastal low, and in the western U.S., a very strong, big, vigorous low that's going to produce a lot of colder weather, rain and snow under this area of low pressure here. So what that is going to mean is unusually cold weather in the far west, milder weather in the central U.S., but that'll gradually diminish a bit as we go forward. But you can still see the central and eastern U.S., the big picture, still calls for above normal temperatures well into October. I'll be talking a little bit more about the extended in just a moment. Okay, now as far as rain goes, or I should say precipitation, like I said, I want to focus on the immediate east coast, the desert southwest, and a few areas of the west, especially parts of California. Other than that, it looks pretty quiet. Remember I said we needed all that rain in that area of drought? Well, not much, or maybe I should say no rain in that area. Now it's that time of year. I'll be talking more and more about snow. Snow is forecast at the higher elevation of the northern Rockies, parts of California, and that looks like that's going to continue later in the month as well. So we're starting to accumulate snow at higher elevations. Okay, what about looking a little bit further out? Well, here we go. It looks like you sort of draw the line roughly through the central part of the U.S. And to the west of that, remember that upper low? Cool, showery, some snow. To the east of that, especially the south, it looks like it's going to be continued quite mild. And here's our rainfall and precipitation outlooks. I wanted to go a little bit further here. This is weeks 3 and 4. Sort of show you again the northeast U.S. and the central part of the U.S. right through the next 3 to 4 weeks above normal temperatures and a pretty strong dry signal. So the western U.S. is going to feel a lot more like late fall, early winter in a few spots. Central and east, with some exceptions, it looks like it's going to feel unusually mild with that delayed fall moving in. That's this week's briefing. Hope you have a great week. Take care.